distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to first of all appreciate our own irrepressible Eugenia Abu. She is a 19. When she graduated from ABU Zaria with a degree in English in 1981, I was a secondary school pupil. She's a creative writer. She has MSc, MA in Comparative Policy Studies from City University of London, and another MA in creative writing from another university in the UK. She wrote 2 books. One, an essay and a poetry, a book of poems. So Eugenia Abu, we are ever grateful. For 17 years, she was the anchor at NTA's prime time news by 9 p.m. She retired, but not tired. She retired as an executive director of programs at NTA. So we have to eulogize you. We have to celebrate you. We have to honor you, and we have to respect you. The reality of our geography has made us more than kith and kin. We are bound as a family, sharing not just borders, but destiny. And in this family, defense is the first expression of love each member can promise the other. This gathering is therefore not just a convergence of uniforms and titles. It is a summoning of Africa's guardians to the village square of ideas. There has never been a time when our collective defense invited us so urgently to sit together and reason together. This summit, the first of its kind, will not have come at a better time. I am therefore deeply honored to welcome each of you to Abuja, the heart of Nigeria and the home of Africa's endless possibilities. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the enormity of threats across our continent compels us to pause and reflect. From the deserts where insurgency festers, to the high seas where piracy prowls, from the silent corridors of cybercrime to the ruthless networks of transnational criminals, none of these tragedies respect borders, and neither should our response. What is true of our challenges must also be true of our resolve. We cannot neutralize these threats in isolation. This is the moment to reassess our military objectives in the collective aspirations to make Africa safe. It is time to forge a new doctrine of continental defense, one rooted in trust, shared intelligence, and coordinated strategy. Nigeria's promise has always been simple and firm: to be a good neighbor and a brother's keeper in the struggle for peace. Our armed forces have stood shoulder to shoulder with our neighbors and far beyond in peacekeeping missions, counter-terrorism operations, and humanitarian endeavors. We hold no illusion. Security is the foundation upon which the edifice of progress must stand. That is why we must use this summit not merely as a meeting, but as a covenant to deepen cooperation through joint training, harmonized doctrines, and interoperable systems. For this to endure, we must build a framework where our defense institutions speak with one voice and act with one purpose. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the nature of warfare has evolved. The threats of today are asymmetric, digital, and often invisible. Our response must not be less dynamic. We must invest in cyber defense, artificial intelligence, and indigenous military innovation. Africa cannot remain merely a consumer of technology. We must be creators, innovators, and owners of the tools that secure our tomorrow. I therefore urge this summit to explore avenues for defense industrial collaboration, research partnerships, and African-led solutions to African security challenges. In this journey, I call upon the organized private sector to be our ally, to invest in the future of defense as an investment in the survival of nations. Our struggles for peace have not come without heroes and heroines across battlefields known and unknown, valiant men and women of our armed forces have laid down their lives in defense of their nations. Their sacrifice is the eternal price of peace, and the least we can do is honor them by ensuring their legacy is enshrined in the institutions we build, the values we uphold, and the partnerships we forge. So this summit must not dissolve with the applause of its closing session. I propose the establishment of a permanent African Chiefs of Defense Staff Forum, a platform for continuous dialogue, strategic foresight, and operational coordination. Let us institutionalize this spirit of unity and make it a cornerstone of Africa's security architecture. The future of Africa depends on the choices we make today. Let us rise above division and embrace cooperation. Let us imagine and build an Africa where peace is not the exception but the norm, where the language of war gives way to the grammar of progress, and where the dignity of our people is shielded by our collective resolve. Finally, I reserve for special recognition and in deference to my sister, Ms. Amina J. Mohammed, I wish to recognize and appreciate Field Marshal Ogogo Lillian Musa. You know, the wives of our service chiefs, our army officers are a step above their husbands. Then General Gwabin Musa is a general, so I will address her as Field Marshal Ogogo Lillian Musa. We appreciate you. We thank you most sincerely with your team for holding the home port. You are the fulcrum on which our society rests. We are mightily proud of you, and we appreciate your efforts. On behalf of the government and people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I welcome you once again to Abuja. May your deliberations be fruitful, your partnerships enduring, and your vision clear and focused. On this note, it is my singular honor and privilege, on behalf of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, to declare open the African Chiefs of Defense Staff Summit, Abuja 2025. Thank you, and may God bless us all.
It is both an honor and a duty to address this distinguished gathering of Africa's military leadership at this historic event. Today, we are joined by some of the continent's finest men and women who continue to stand guard to protect Africa's peace and security. This summit is more than meeting. It is a bold statement of our collective commitment to building a safer, stronger, more united Africa. Our continent is facing serious and evolving security threats from terrorism and insurgency to cyber attack and maritime security. These challenges are complex, transnational, and increasingly asymmetric. Tackling them required not just national resilience, but also strong continental cooperation. Today, we take an important step forward. We affirm that Africa's security must be driven by African solutions, African leadership, and African unity. Nigeria has always played a leading role in promoting regional peace and stability. Our armed forces have been actively involved in peacekeeping, counter-terrorism, and humanitarian missions across Africa and beyond. We remain committed to strengthening our defense partnership, both bilateral and multilateral, to support peace, development, and democratic values. This summit reflects our belief that no single country can secure the continent alone. We must work together, sharing intelligence, aligning doctrine, and building trust among defense institutions. The future of warfare is digital, fast-moving, and unpredictable. As defense leaders, we must embrace innovation, we must invest in cyber defense, artificial intelligence, and indigenous military technologies. Africa must not just keep up with global trends, we must take the lead in shaping them. Let this summit serve as a platform for defense industrial collaboration, joint training, and strategic planning. Let us build defense institutions that are agile, accountable, and ready for challenge ahead. Going forward, I strongly advocate for this summit to become a regular event. Let it be institutionalized as an annual platform for strategic dialogue, coordinations, and professional exchange. Let us, from working groups and task forces, to sustain the momentum beyond this gathering. Let us build a continent where peace is permanent and our armed forces stand as a symbol of pride, professionalism, and progress. I must also acknowledge and appreciate the President and the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for his outstanding leadership and continued support to the Armed Forces of Nigeria. I also commend the Chief of Defense Staff, General C.J. Musa, for his exceptional leadership and foresight in organizing this inaugural African Chief of Defense Staff Summit. His commitment to regional cooperation, operational excellence, and continental security has set a new standard in defense diplomacy. The success of this summit is a testament to his professionalism and dedication to unity among African defense institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Ministry of Defense and the Government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I thank you for your presence, your partnership, and your dedication to Africa's security. I wish you all productive and fruitful deliberation. Thank you, and may God bless the African continent.
It's a great honor for me to be part of this very timely, very special, and indeed historic event of the coming together of the African defense chiefs here in Abuja, Nigeria. For those of us who have lived through pre- and post-independence of African nations, this event conjures emotion as well as nostalgia. In this regard, we recall vividly how in the late 50s, the late President Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana articulated his vision of an African collective security system through the creation of an African High Command. African High Command is the highest form of strategic defense cooperation in the continent, were it to have been established. Nkrumah's vision was further developed here in Nigeria, precisely in Lagos, in 1964, at the organization of African Unity Council of Ministers meeting, where the creation of an African High Command was high on its agenda. I draw attention to this vision, not just because of nostalgia, because as the saying goes, you can't know where you are going unless you know where you are coming from. The translation of that vision, however, into concrete reality has eluded us in the continent. This is largely due to the fact that we have to first secure our respective countries before we can then, in the concentric circles of defense policy, secure our respective regions as we strive to secure our continent. It's therefore very symbolic that Nigeria is hosting this conference of African defense chiefs today, the very first of its kind in 2025, some 61 years on. May I therefore congratulate Mr. President, His Excellency, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for facilitating this crucial African summit. Indeed, securing Nigeria has made it possible for the country to be at the forefront of securing West Africa. We're all aware of the creation of ECOWAS and its defense instrument ECOMOG. Joined by Ghana and other member states of ECOWAS, ECOMOG was a trailblazer in the security and defense of the sub-region of West Africa. And through the instrumentality of ECOMOG, the Nigerian Armed Forces have made tremendous impact on the region and continue to do so. I therefore salute our chief hosts of this event, General Christopher Musa, and all the service chiefs for their focus and dedication to the peace and security of the most populous sub-region in Africa, and for their foresight in convening this inaugural African Chiefs of Defense Summit. The theme of the summit, Combating Contemporary Threats to Regional Peace and Security in Africa, the role of strategic defense collaboration, resonates strongly with many African scholars, security experts, and policymakers alike. Neither has there been lack of practical steps to combat insecurity in Africa through collective approach. The African Peace and Security Architecture and a supportive standby force have been created under the auspices of the African Union, and that African standby force was actually supposed to have become operational by 2015. The African Union Agenda 2063 emphasized silencing the guns by the year 2020, which has passed, and now shifted to 2030. Still, the guns are still blazing, as Sudan, South Sudan, the Sahel, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Southern Africa continue to witness violent conflict. According to some research work done by the African Research Network for Regional and Global Governance, Innovation, with headquarters in Savannah Center for Diplomacy, Democracy and Development here in Abuja, there are now over 1,000 insurgency groups in Africa, and the number keeps rising. And the majority of our Regional Economic Commission are actually dealing with banditry and terrorism and other forms of insurgency. So regional economic communities, was supposed to be primarily about economic integration, has to, of course, devote a lot of its attention to issues of dealing with banditry, terrorism, and insurgency. Let me conclude by expressing the strongest conviction that Africa's collective security can only be enhanced with active, practical, and proactive collaboration at the regional and continental levels. There must be synergy in military cooperation, promotion of common training, promotion of common doctrinal concepts, sharing of intelligence, the interoperability of armaments, but also capacity building, particularly in airlifting, all of which are essential for operationalization of the African standby force. We must also upgrade and strengthen our defense industries and own our technologies in order to avoid control from external forces. Finally, this summit, this historic summit, the very first of its kind, of African defense chiefs, should not yet be another talk shop. We must strive at concrete and realistic solutions to combat old as well as new threats to peace and security in Africa. Africa must design, own, and build a security architecture that guarantees our sovereignties and guarantees human security in all of its dimensions. I thank you for your kind attention, and I wish all of us fruitful deliberation. Thank you.
My great auntie, it's good to see you again.
Always a pleasure.
The President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, ably represented by our own there, the Vice President, His Excellency Senator Kashim Shettima, GCON, the Senate President, His Excellency Distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, GCON, represented by Senator Ahmed Lawan, the Deputy Secretary General, United Nations, Hajia Amina J. Mohammed, GCON, distinguished members of the National Assembly here present, Your Excellencies, Executive Governors and their representatives, the Honorable Minister of State Defense, members of the Federal Executive Council, Chiefs of Defense Staff and Defense Forces from Africa, my brothers, Service Chiefs and Inspector General of Police, the Chairperson of African Union, the ECOWAS Chairman, heads of security agencies and parastatals, former Chiefs of Defense Staff and Service Chiefs, heads of corporate organizations, heads of military establishments, captains of industry, very senior military and paramilitary officers, both serving and retired, members of the summit, members of the diplomatic corps, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It is with immense honor and great pleasure that I welcome you all to Abuja, the heart of Nigeria, for this historic inaugural African Chiefs of Defense Staff Summit on this very wonderful day, the 25th of August, 2025. On behalf of the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, and the good people of this great nation, I extend our warmest akwaba, bienvenue, and as we say in Nigeria, ekabo, ndeu, barka da zuwa, and a warm welcome to our beloved country. Your presence here is a powerful testament to our shared commitment to a more peaceful and secure Africa. Distinguished Chiefs of Defense Staff, ladies and gentlemen, today we gather at a critical juncture in our continent's history. Africa stands on the edge of unprecedented opportunity, driven by a vibrant youth population, vast resources, and a spirit of innovation. Yet, this promise is challenged by a complex and evolving spectrum of security threats. From the scourge of violent extremism and terrorism to the menace of transnational organized crime, piracy, and the insidious impacts of climate change on conflict, these challenges recognize no borders. They are hydra-headed, resilient, and demand a response that is equally dynamic, unified, and strategic. The choice of the theme of this summit, Combating Contemporary Threats to Regional Peace and Security in Africa, the role of defense collaboration, is both timely and pertinent. It captures the urgent need for a united action in addressing the complex and evolving security challenges confronting our continent. Consequently, this gathering offers us a rare opportunity to forge a unified front. It is a platform to harmonize our doctrines, strengthen interoperability, and build enduring trust among our defense institutions. We must therefore seize this opportunity to craft a new architecture of African-led security cooperation. As host nations, Nigeria is deeply committed to the ideals of regional stability and continental defense integration. Our armed forces have consistently contributed to peacekeeping operations, counter-terrorism efforts, and humanitarian missions across Africa. We believe that true security is not achieved in isolation. It is built through shared intelligence, joint training, and coordinated action. Nigeria stands ready to work with our brothers and sisters across the continent to develop frameworks that are proactive, resilient, and responsive to the realities of our time. Distinguished colleagues, the battlefield is evolving. The threats of today are no longer confined to conventional warfare. They are digital, asymmetric, and often invisible. The enemy is within. As Chiefs of Defense Staff and heads of our armed forces, we must lead the charge in modernizing our forces, investing in cyber defense, artificial intelligence, and indigenous military technology, without which it will be difficult for us to achieve our security. The challenges before us are great, but so too is our resolve. Let us rise above division and embrace unity. Let us build a continent where our people can live free from fear and where our armed forces are symbols of stability, professionalism, and pride. Let us use this summit to explore how we can build a defense industrial base that is Africa in origin, Africa in design, and Africa in purpose. The Economic Committee of West African States, ECOWAS for short, the African Union's peace and security architecture, and other regional mechanisms have provided a vital foundation. But we must now build upon this foundation with greater resolve. We must be the architects of our own security and destiny. As we deliberate on strategy and policy, let us not forget the brave men and women who serve under our command. Many have paid the ultimate price in defense of our nations. Their courage and sacrifice must inspire us to build institutions that are not only strong, but just and accountable. Before I round down, with the permission of the special guest of honor, in order to honor those whom have paid the supreme price, both in the armed forces and as citizens of Africa, permit me to kindly request that we kindly stand up and observe a minute silence in honor of those that have paid this price. Thank you, sir.